This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and each week I'm joined by a panel of guests to discuss all things fandom and pop culture, primarily from a female perspective. You'll find everything from fanfic, to cosplay, to Schitt's Creek, to Supernatural, and everything in between. So put on your favorite piece of fandom merch, set aside that fanfic that you're writing about your OTP, and sit back and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the comedy of the century, the decade, at just the funniest show you will watch on television, The Bear. Of course, there is some sarcasm in there if you cannot tell, because this is not a comedy, even though it wins awards in that category. It's not. So I have two amazing panelists joining me to discuss The Bear. First up, my co-host from Twin It to Win It, my podcast brain twin, and the host of My Streaming Bubble, Jenn. Hello, Jenn.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me back, and I'm excited to talk about the show. This very, very so funny comedy. That's the funniest thing about the whole thing being labeled as a comedy and winning and nominating and winning awards for, like, that's got to be the joke, right? That's the comedy part, right? Anyway, I'm excited. Thank you.
That's the comedy part, yeah. And then also joining me is Sara. Hello, Sara.
Hello. I am also very excited to talk about this show because it is fantastic.
Yes, I'm very, very excited for this one. So before we start talking about The Bear, I am going to give you, of course, some trigger warnings, because this show needs a lot of trigger warnings, and also the IMDb description and the cast, some of the cast. There are a lot of people in this show, so I'm not going to spend the whole time naming every single one. I'm going to try and name the most important, but there are lots of people in here. So first up, trigger warnings for substance abuse, alcohol abuse, mental illness, suicide, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, stress, emotional abuse, neglect. Yeah, like everything pretty much. So yeah, lots of stress. This show is very stressful. So that's why the comedy part just kills me. This show is not like an easy laid back watch. Not like there aren't episodes that are a little bit more laid back, but this show is high intensity. And I know that that's done to mimic the way it is working in a restaurant. We are going to be spoiling the first 3 seasons of this show. The 4th season debuts on June 25th. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go and watch this show on Hulu and then come back and listen to us. So The Bear, this is from IMDb, it's about a young chef from the fine dining world who returns to Chicago to run his family's sandwich shop. And he returns to Chicago after his older brother, Mikey, died by suicide. So just to let you know, that's where the suicide trigger warning comes in. And I think it's just a lot of mental illness throughout the show. We're going to talk later how the show handles that, and also addiction, because addiction is a huge storyline through here too. So the show stars Jeremy Allen White as Carmi, Eben Moss Bacharach as Richie, Io Debris as Sydney or Sid, Lionel Boyce as Marcus, Liza Colin-Zayas as Tina, Abby Elliott as Natalie Sugar. Actually, she goes by Sugar the most, so we're going to say Sugar, I'm sure, throughout this thing. Maddie Matheson as Fack. I'm just going to say Fack. I'm not going to say his first name. And just a little bit of trivia. If you don't know, Maddie Matheson is actually a chef in real life, but he doesn't do any cooking in the show. So I just think that's just kind of a funny little trivia fact there. Edwin Lee Gibson as Abraham, Corey Hendricks as Sweeps, Richard Estrasis as Manny, Jose Cervantes as Angel, Oliver Platt as Unc or Jimmy, Ricky Staffery as Theodore Fack. I'm using his first name because I'm not going to say Fack for every single one of them. Molly Gordon as Claire, Chris Witaski as Pete, Robert Townsend as Emmanuel, who is Sydney's dad, and a bunch of other people. I do think it's important to point out John Barenthal as Mikey in flashbacks. We see him in flashbacks. And also it's important to point out Jamie Lee Curtis as their mom, Donna. So I think those are two of the other ones we see. But of course, you see lots of people throughout playing chefs. And then you also see some real life chefs in this as well. So what I first want to know, Jenn, is what were your initial impressions of the show? And I'm assuming both of you love this show. I already know you do, but I'm just assuming that's why I said, why do you like it instead of do you like it? And why do you like it?
I'm kind of a masochist when it comes to my programs. That's what my friend Laura has said, because I like it when it just utterly destroys me. This show does that. And it's not a comedy, but the funny parts are funny. Like a lot of kind of laugh out loud moments. Maybe I'm laughing a little too hard because I'm realizing I got to let out all that pent up stress. Like, oh, that was funny, but maybe not that funny. But I like how the high stress does kind of mimic kitchen life. My husband worked in kitchens for like 14, 15 years. So when I was rewatching it, I was like, do you ever miss kitchen? Do you miss this? And he's like, sometimes, yeah. I was like, really? So it's kind of fun because we almost kind of relive those like stressful moments and retelling those kind of stories and everything. But the writing is amazing. These characters are fantastic. The performances, it's just everything about this show it's just so freaking good. You get food tour of Chicago and in the pop culture week, you had mentioned Italy and how your sister said you wouldn't like it. People are just crossing the street kind of all willy-nilly. That's Chicago. That shit stresses me out like a motherfucker. I refuse to drive in Chicago, and if I'm in a cab, I can't even look out the window. Headphones are the best because everyone's still laying on their horns, and I'm just like, I can't breathe. But I love this show. It's kind of a love letter to Chicago as well. Chicago's a great city. It's a lot of fun. I could never live there, but I love visiting. And the soundtrack is fantastic. So in that kind of near the end of season 2, and Richie's getting ready to do some Richie stuff, and then like the Pearl Jam kicks in, you can't help but get pumped. And I think that's just awesome. And it's the way the show just kind of gets into you, makes you feel all the feelings from stress and anxiety to just like heartbreak, kind of seeing what some of these characters are going through. You're proud of some characters. You're really, really, really proud of one character. Last thing, when I told my friend Jill that I was rewatching this, before I could finish saying pod prep, she's like, why would you do that to yourself? And then my oldest caught like 3 minutes, like just a couple minutes of it one day. He heard all the cussing and he turned around and he's like, whoa, and just sucked him right in. And I was like, yeah, the people call this a comedy. And he's like, there's nothing funny about what I saw. He's like, I only saw a few minutes and that seemed really intense. I don't even think it was a super intense moment. So I love it. It is intense, but now that I've been through it 3 times and kind of know what to expect, it makes some of those episodes a little easier to get through, but not saying you're just like, oh yeah, Christmas, woohoo, fishes. You're just like, okay, this one's going to be a ride. You're able to prepare yourself. Yeah. Centering breaths. Perfect.
Yeah, and with the F word, the series has an extreme high density use of the F word. In 18 episodes, the word and its deviations was used 1,052 times, or once every 34 seconds.
Oh my God.
One episode, season 1, episode 7, registered the use every 13 seconds.
I mean, rightfully so, but oh my God.
I'm sorry, but are you fucking kidding me?
Holy fuck. What the fuck?
I just thought that was so
And that was
funny.
just Richie alone.
And I mean, it makes sense. Episode 7 was the review one where they are trying to have that bad day in the kitchen where they have all of the orders
pre-order
coming
got left
through
on.
and they're getting over. Yes. And
Shooting out.
Just constant. That's
yeah. And Sid quits, which was, you know, they deserved her quitting. She had every right to walk off because she was treated like crap in that episode. So yeah, a lot of people were treated like crap. And I also remember that episode when Carmi picks up the donut that is thrown on the floor and eats it. I mean, there was also some sorrow and sadness in that, of the realization of you had just fucking got out of your own way for a minute. You would have noticed how amazing Marcus was doing and what amazing work he was doing. But it's also just gross to me when anybody eats stuff like that. It's just,
especially a kitchen floor. Like,
and that kitchen floor at that time was not.
Yes.
No. No.
No.
Nope. So, Sarah, same question to you.
I mean, this show is just chef's kiss, pun intended. I remember when I first saw the trailer and I was like really confused about what it was about. And then my youngest, Cameron, my youngest started watching it and he's like, you really, really, really need to watch this, Mom. You would absolutely love it. I'm not sure at what point I've started taking television recommendations from my kids, but apparently here we are. So my husband and I, our background is both in hospitality, mostly hotels, but, you know, hotels with high-end restaurants. So very familiar with that environment. So between that and just, I love to cook and love cooking shows. That's like my comfort thing. You know, we were intrigued. And I think the first night we watched, like, we'd shoot through 5 episodes, and every episode it was like, oh my God, that is so anxiety inducing. Do you want to watch another one? Yeah. It's like, so I think it's like my ADHD is just drawn to the chaos of it. But it is, I mean, it is so well written, just the characters and even the way, even the filming, the cinematography of it, like the Ice Chips episode where Sugar's in, I know, right?
That episode, oh my God.
She's in the delivery room with her mom. And I mean, you could see she's going through she's just going through all these emotions and just how close up on their faces it is. And I mean, you could just see like all that emotion in their faces. It's just unbelievable. I really think it's one of the best shows on television right now. Yeah, it does have some funny parts. I mean, I think Ted and Neil back, you know, they're the comic relief.
Yeah.
They're definitely the comic relief. And then you throw Sammy in there, even though it's like one episode. It's like, okay, random John Cena.
I know. I was like,
didn't
wait,
see
what?
Wait, what's John Cena doing here?
I didn't see.
Do you see him? I don't know. Damn. Is that John Cena? I'm not sure. But yeah, they're definitely, I mean, they've got some funny parts in there. And there are some funny parts, like, you know, sort of funny, lighthearted things, but it is not a comedy. So if you go into this thinking that you're just going to be laughing hysterically throughout the whole thing, oh, absolutely not. I mean, there are some parts that are just so absurd that they are kind of funny, but no, it is heavy and it is intense and it is full of emotion and, you know, deals with a lot of things, a lot of really dark things. And I know we're going to get more into that when we talk about how it handles mental illness and stuff like that. So I won't bring that up now. It's just so well done. And disclaimer, I have not seen the season finale of season 3 yet.
Oh,
If you spoil it, it's totally fine. I don't care.
okay.
I have like 30 minutes left of it. Just a long story. My parents were in town for like the past week. My son graduated from college. So I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to this past week. So that's the only one I've missed. But if it gets spoiled, that's fine. I don't care. It's all good. But yeah, if you go into this thinking it's a comedy and you're going to be laughing your ass off, no, you're not. Absolutely not. But you will love it. You will absolutely love it if you can handle Richie dropping F-bombs every 13 seconds, apparently. I can't believe there's someone actually sat there and counted it all. They're like, a little clicker, click.
There's probably a YouTube cut of all of the uses
Oh,
of
there
that word or something somewhere. I'm gonna have to find that. If I find it, or if anyone knows of it, let us know. But if I find it, I will put it in the show notes. So I too like high stress shows and dark shows, and although it's funny because it's hard for me to call this a dark show, because when I use that I mean like I recommended this to my mom, and there was part of me that was like, maybe I shouldn't recommend this to my mom because of the stress part of it. But I think she'd like the characters so much, and she likes watching cooking shows. I really want my sister to watch this show because I think she'd really like it. But the darkness, I think there are dark elements to certain episodes, but I do like heavier shows, and this is definitely a heavy show. And I had been meaning to watch this for a long time. I knew this show was up my alley, but it's very hard with my life. Sometimes my brain, when I have those free moments, just dies, and I have to just go with stuff I've watched before or something I'm still already watching and I started, a long time ago. So in order to watch new stuff, I have to put it on the schedule usually for this podcast. That's just the way it kind of goes. I'm glad I did, and I finally watched it because this show is so good. This show is just excellent in every way. The performances are just mind-blowingly good from everyone in here, including the real-life chefs that appear in here too. And the little, cameos from people. I in particular really love Olivia Colman in this. And it's just these moments of just like, I don't know, it's weird because this show is so stressful, yet there's so many moments of that of letting out a breath where it's a little bit quieter, and they go into just talking about the world of being a chef and the world of cooking and the art of it. Because I didn't really ever think, I hate cooking. I absolutely despise cooking. But I think it's fascinating when people are that impassioned by something and realizing it's an art form. It's not just cooking, it's an art form. And the artistry behind it, and, the placing of certain things, and, the dollop of this and that, and the way the plating looks, and everything looks so beautiful most of the time. And watching them throw out certain plates and be like, what the hell was wrong with that? It's so it's like the perfectionism and the stress of it all. And I do think, Jenn, when you said your husband does sometimes miss this, I think that's interesting because I think there is something addictive for some people in their personality, or for some of us, like for us wanting to watch this stuff, where there's something almost like the chaos can be freeing in a way. There's almost beauty in chaos.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think that's part of what it is. And I think you definitely see the beauty through the chaos in here. When we get to the characters, when you said one character, Jenn, I'm like, one character? There are so many characters in here that have gone through, that have changed for me, or that you see this beauty and this growth because of, it started with Carmen being there, but I think primarily because of Sid, to be quite honest. But you see so many changes in some of these characters, and learning the beauty of the art form and how they embrace the art form in ways that they never expected. And I also appreciate that this show has such a huge cast, but it also takes moments to single out people that are supporting background players and really give them their due. And I really appreciate that as well. Yeah, the music is so good in this show. So good. And I have a really, really big, soft place in my heart for Chicago. And a lot of that is because of my family and my dad. It's all wrapped up in my dad. And I wonder, if my dad ever watched this show, because my dad being from Chicago and his family being from Chicago and the food. And I just remember growing up as a kid here in Colorado and my dad talking about food and like hot dogs and like pizza. And, there's not just deep dish Chicago pizza. I want to just say there's also particular thin crust cut into squares Chicago pizza as well, which was more important to my dad than the deep dish. And so I remember going there as a kid and him being like, hey, we have to try the pizza at this particular place. We have to get these hot dogs at like basically this just drive up window place. And the hot dogs had like the French fries in the hot dogs. And I still to this day love a Chicago dog with like the peppers, the neon green relish and everything in there. And also the way everybody talks to each other in this is very Chicago. The yelling, the screaming, very much the Catholic part of it. Just the fighting over the White Sox versus the Cubs. If you don't know, I'm a Cubs person. And I cried when they won the World Series. So the reason I love the Cubs is because of my connection to that to Chicago through my dad. And that very much that blue collar working class environment where it is all these people who are just very high strung, very stressed out all the time, very much like loud, very loud people. Even when they're quiet and reserved, they're still very loud, but they're also so extremely emotional, but they don't show a lot of their emotions. A lot of their emotions come out through anger and yelling and cursing and all of that. I just think it's interesting also the timing of all of this because still dealing with a lot of stuff around my dad's passing and certain things. It's like I've been surrounded by stuff in Chicago, that stuff that has to do with Chicago. Like last night I went to a concert and we were waiting because now at Red Rocks they have a shuttle, thank God, to get up to certain parts. And we're waiting for the shuttle and this guy comes up, he's like, I'm from Chicago, and starts talking, and he's so Chicago, like so Chicago. And he also had a couple of drinks, so he was even more Chicago. And so I was like, see, it's haunting me. It's everywhere. So yeah. So in other words, this show I think it's perfect. I understand, I guess a lot of people have a lot of issues with the third season and don't like it as much. I get that. They don't like what happened to a certain character, and we'll get into that with the characters. To me, it makes perfect sense what's going on with this particular character in this show. But I understand because some of the things they do, you want to just smack them. So I want to just lead into that then. So Jenn, what are your overall thoughts on the characters? And there are a lot of characters in this show, of course. And who is your favorite character?
Oh my God. Well, okay. So
I know. I know.
And you are right. Like almost everyone has growth arc. Richie surprised me the most. Season 1 Richie to even just like halfway through season 2 Richie. I wasn't expecting, I fucking hated his character. I was like, I don't give a shit about him. But then when he came back at the beginning of season 2 and he's like, trying not to say the GNR because it's part of my personal growth as a person. Like he had this whole kind of spiel, like he has like written it out like in his bullet journal or something, or like self-help books and whatnot. But I was so proud of him. Made me so happy. And then when he goes and stages at the fancy place ever and doing all the forks, and then he just awakened something in him. And I feel like we could always see Richie's potential up until that point, but Richie didn't feel good about himself, not until he put that suit on. And when he tells Suge and the emotion and the truth and the rawness in his face, and he's like, I wear a suit because I like how it makes me feel. I'm just like, oh, Richie, you come here. You're such a good boy. And even in season 1, he has that moment where he and Sid have to go get more caulk, and he's on the phone with his daughter. And at first I thought he was going to be like an ass, just a piece of shit. But he was not afraid to have that very raw emotional moment on the phone with his daughter in front of basically a stranger. Like they're just getting to know each other. They pretty much hate each other at this point, him and Sydney. And so in rewatching it and kind of picking up on that, I'm like, it's always been there. But because of whatever his insecurities and anything else that he may have been struggling with, him and his wife, girlfriend, not being together anymore. It's like all these things were just kind of beating him down, losing Mikey. And then now Carmi's coming in trying to change everything, but changing things for the better, sort of ish. And in that, trying to improve the bear, Carmi is improving everybody else. And Richie had the best growth. I loved it. And then, at the end of season 2, Carmi's locked in the cooler and Sydney's freaking out and she can't do it. And then he's like 5 minutes to clear the board. And that Pearl Jam kicks in and you just get goosebumps and he fucking does it. And you're just like, yes, my boy. So, I love Richie. He just continues to surprise me more and more. Next is Tina. I love Tina. I love the growth that she has, even in season 1, from being kind of defensive and, like she doesn't want to do any of these changes, this and that. But the second that Sydney puts her in charge of like the mashed potatoes or something, one of the dishes, and Tina comes up, she's like, go ahead, tell me it sucks. Tell me it's shit and I'll throw it out. And Sydney's like, no, this is great. The way Tina's face lights up. Anytime she gets any kind of praise and being told you did a great job, when she gets to keep Carmi's knife, the way her face lights up. Oh my God, Tina. And I loved her kind of origin story episode with her real life husband, Batista from Dexter. I was like, yes, yay. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm calming down. I'm sorry. The show's just is getting me amped up just talking about it. Tina, all of that. And then, and I just love how she calls everyone Jeff. Not even Chef.
I know.
But Jeff. Like, and everyone answers. No one corrects her. It's fantastic. She's like, she's the best. Marcus. Who doesn't love Marcus? If you don't love Marcus, then don't fucking talk to me. We got nothing to say. And even Sugar tells the calculator. She's like, you're nice to Pete, which is a big deal because no one's nice to Pete. She's like, but if you fuck with Marcus, I'll kill ya. And I was just like, that is the only response to that. Because the computer wanted, like, you don't need a Marcus. Get a different Marcus. She's like, I'll fucking kill ya. Loved it. And then when he gets to go to Copenhagen, and oh my God, just all of that. And then just his story, losing his mom, him dealing with that grief and finding peace in it and being okay that he was at the restaurant and missed the calls from the nurse when she had passed. He's like, no, it was supposed to be like this. It was just always supposed to be like this. I love that for him. I love that he found the peace in that and not angry or anything else like that. Marcus is just such a sweetie. And I did not like it when Carmi yelled at him in season 1 with the donuts and everything. So I did like it when Carmi was like, I'm sorry. He was very awkward and kind of almost adorable about it, but it felt sincere. And then I'm just going to need everyone to be nicer to Pete. Be nice about Pete. I'm not going to.
Thank you.
I don't understand why people aren't nice.
I think because he's just
get
such a dork. He's the complete opposite of that entire family because that's what Sugar needs.
Well, yeah.
And oh my God, I felt so bad for him when he brought the 8th fish. He brought the tuna casserole.
I know.
And everyone's like, why would you do? I mean, even Sugar was upset, which I can understand because it's her mom, high stress and everything. And it's like, I can't show up and not bring anything. It's like, okay, then bring wine. Or a nice tray of assorted meats and cheeses. That's a hit here in Wisconsin. You can go anywhere with a tray of meats and cheeses and everyone's going to love you. And then his interactions with Donna when they opened the bear and they're having their friends and family night and Donna's outside watching everything happen. That scene with those two is so fucking emotional.
Yeah.
I can't even put it into words, but when he's just crying. He's like, tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. It's Pete. He doesn't know what to do, you guys. Be nice to Pete. And then he goes inside and he's crying and he's telling Sugar, I'm just so happy and proud of you. And she's like, what's wrong? He's like, I'm just so happy for like, oh my God. And then, ice chips. So Sugar giving birth and that whole episode, her and Don, she's the only one that she can get a hold of. One, I love that this episode takes place pretty much all in one. The majority of it takes place in the hospital room. My other favorite thing about this episode is how it never once cut away from a contraction. We all sat through that. We all he'd through all of that. You don't see that in shows. There's always some sort of cutaway to like some nurses or other family members. No, we were there for all of that. And then Pete comes in and he's all happy. And then the baby's born. And then Sydney brings food to their house and he doesn't know what to cook because he thinks different foods make different sounds when you cook them.
I know.
Oh, yeah. So when he showed up to the hospital and Donna was still there and he's very excited, very happy, they almost kind of have that other moment where he's like, I don't know what to do, but like in the best, most excited way. And I love Pete. Please. That's what I would, people need to be nicer to Pete. I understand he's just a big ass dork, but he is just the nice.
He's so sweet.
He's such a
He's
sweetheart.
so sweet.
I could go on and on about like a bunch of other characters, like, you know, pretty much everyone else. Carmi's fantastic. He's a little high strung. He's got a lot going on and got a lot on his plate. He's been a lot of fun to kind of watch and follow through all of this. And as much as I do like Carmi, I'd have to say, yeah, Richie, Tina, Marcus, and Pete are my favorites. And I love Shug, poor Shug, and her strained relationship with her mother. And I can kind of relate to that. So I felt a lot of what I think Shug was feeling in a lot of those moments with Donna. The facts are hilarious. Abram is he's so sweet. He's just old and he's insecure about learning to cook and he's just an old bitch. And Tina's like, no, we need more old bitches. You know, these kids will keep us old bitches young. Oh, I love him. And then when he's like getting his serve safe and he's watching the video and he's like, yes, that makes sense. I accept. Oh my God. All right. I said I would stop, but I'll stop. Oh, that was really fast. I think hold on, I'm gonna take my pulse.
So Sarah, what are your overall thoughts on who is your favorite? I'm in just one person, but I knew it'd be broken there.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm just giving you.
I know. It's so hard to pick one. I'm sorry. I got to go with Richie too. I remember because I recommended this show to my parents as well, and they did watch it. And when they started watching season 1, I was talking with my mom. She's like, cousin is awful. I cannot stand him. I'm like, just wait. Give it time. Give it to like halfway through season 2 and you will love him. And now she absolutely adores him. I'm like, I told you. His growth and his arc is probably one of my favorites. And you could always see, and I think it was his relationship with his daughter is when it came out, that he did have that certain like sweet, kind side to him. And especially the episode, I forget what the name of the episode was, but not important. And obviously it seems like they have shared custody, but like he wakes his daughter up in the morning and they're just talking and you could just see how much he loves her and wants to, give her 100 candles on her birthday cake because that's what she has. I mean, he's he could be a dick, but he's such a good dad. And you could see that. And I love the whole, I wear suits now. Like, he's just like, or when he comes back from Ever and he's done his training and he like leans into Carmi and says, I get it now. Like he finally understands. And I just, even season 3, I just absolutely, absolutely love him. Sydney has always been one of my favorites as well. And there's something there. And we'll get into this for, I guess, season 4. I feel like she's holding back a lot in terms of her skill and what she's like revealing to Carmi, what she can do in the kitchen. I think she holds back a lot. She does stand up to him on certain things, but she puts up with a lot from him. And there are a lot of times I'm like, you don't deserve her, dude. You really don't deserve to have her in the kitchen. Like, do you know how good you have it right now? Because, like when she walks out, I mean, and she obviously comes back, but when she walks out, I'm like, I don't blame you because this is a clusterfuck right now. It was just insane. But I'll keep it short. I mean, there's just so many great characters, and I have to love Fack too, just because he does provide that little bit of humor in there. And the fact that he's played by Matty Matheson, who is a chef in real life, and he's always begging to cook something or be a server or whatever. I just find that hilarious. Sure, that was done on purpose. But yeah, him and his brother just provide that little bit of laughter that we need every once in a while because they are so ridiculous sometimes, especially with the whole haunting thing. And John's, oh my God, with Sammy. Stop haunting me. What is with you? And the code word or the password. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, there's so many more. And I mean, we could have a whole episode just on our favorite characters.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. We might do a follow-up after season 4 comes out. I'm not even kidding. I might do a second episode on this just at some point as like a bonus episode or something. Hey, become a Patreon supporter today and you might get that episode. Yeah.
Episode of the bear.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, the haunting with the with the breaking down the boxes and how frustrated Carmi is at that. And Sid gets frustrated with it too, and it never gets done. And then like when they're out there doing it and Carmi's like, this is why I had it on my non-negotiables list. and then they're like, do you think this could be could we be being haunted? Is this part of being haunted?
Claire doing this?
Yeah. No, this is not a haunt.
And can I just say real quick with the not breaking down the boxes, that's a real thing because I remember my husband just being beyond fucking pissed off anytime someone did not break down the fucking box. Now that he hasn't been in the kitchen for several years, guess who doesn't break down fucking boxes? That anger is for real. I don't think anyone's acting there. I think that's all legit.
That's funny.
Yeah, there's only 3 of us in the house and no one breaks down boxes. And
break them down. Just okay. I'm sorry.
So then recycling day comes and I'm the one out there breaking down all the boxes. Like, boxes.
Sorry, I didn't realize that was going to be so triggering.
The struggle is real.
It's funny. It's fine.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, it is hard to choose a favorite. And it is, I mean, I think all these characters are very interesting. And I think with the Richie, I'm going to go to Richie again. Although really in my heart, Marcus is my favorite because Marcus is so dang sweet. I love that man so much. But Richie does, and I knew that's who you were talking about, Jen, when you said one character with their growth, because Richie does have a really natural growth in here that you see the inklings of it from the start. Very sensitive character, probably the most sensitive character on the show, probably the most emotional. You know, it's funny because he actually reminds me a lot of my dad in a lot of respects. And so once again, and I don't mean to make it all personal, but this show and a lot of things have been like part of the emotional journey with my dad and everything. So it's interesting watching him, especially with his interactions with his daughter, thinking about my dad and my dad's emotional and how emotional my dad was, just like emotions, but never showed those emotions, even though he always showed those emotions, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And Richie, you know, in the episode Forks is the name of the episode, where he goes and he works at Ever. And at first he thinks it's a punishment. And he thinks that Carmi's doing it to him because he doesn't have any faith in him. And when he finds out that it's the exact opposite, I think that's actually, you know, I think the whole episode, but I think that's the real biggest turning point for him, is knowing that someone that he considers family, even though he's not biologically related to them, but he considers part of his family, having them have so much faith in him, I think really turns him around. And then he starts to have some faith in himself. There's still backsides, like as far as like with the faith in himself, especially in season 3 with his daughter and with his wife getting married again and feeling almost like, you know, he has that whole moment where he's talking to Suge and he's like, should I just not be in her life? Would that be easier if I just like, and you know, just like, no, that would be awful. And to me, that's such a real moment because he really feels like, well, maybe she'd be better off just being with them. But he loves his daughter so, so much. That whole scene that you're talking about, Sara, when he's getting her ready and they're having this moment where, you know, with the 100 candles and all this other stuff and the amount of love he has for her. And I also really, really appreciate, and I think with this character initially, you wouldn't have thought he did this, he does not badmouth Frank at all, who's played by Josh Hartnett, by the way, who I love Josh Hartnett so much. But I love that because that makes such a difference. And I love also that Frank is not an asshole and he's very concerned and very upset with himself. And he wants to apologize to Richie about the fact that he didn't first ask him if it was okay if he proposed. And he's like, well, I'm not her dad, but the respect, the amount of like, I have to respect you. And I thought that was great too, and kind of played against the stereotypes that you would normally see. And just watching Richie come into his own, and so this is a little bit of a spoiler for the finale, Sarah, but in the season 3 finale, when they're going to the wake or the funeral or whatever they call it, what is it called? The death or
I think it's funeral.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so depressing. But it's a celebration, and he wants to be in the back of the house during it and doesn't want to sit there at the table being served the food. There was something so special about that and the connection he had with them, and the fact that that's the staff there connected with him too. So it wasn't a one-way street. And when Olivia Colman, who I just adore in this series, her character is like, oh my gosh, I think she also helped Richie a lot too. But when she's out there and she looks at him and she blows him a kiss and he blows her a kiss, sorry, that makes me want to cry because it's so incredibly precious and sweet. And you wouldn't have expected this from the character in season 1 who was just always in the way. He always felt in the way and like he was causing more trouble. But I do think this is a character that has such low self-esteem, but he's starting to get it back because of the fact that someone had faith in him to do something that nobody would have been like, let's put a suit on Richie before. And then with him having that and having that front of the house responsibility and him being serious about it and taking it seriously. And also his scene in the season 2 finale when Carmi's locked in the refrigerator and they're yelling at each other and he keeps saying, I love you. I love you. There's something so powerful about that. And the fact that Carmi does not remember this is like so, I mean, I understand, but still at the same time, I'm like, I wish you could remember that he was saying, I love you, while you both are just yelling at each other. And they still have not really gotten over that or come to terms with that. I think that's another great scene with him. So he did become one of my absolute favorites because he had so much growth and he keeps growing and he's not really taking like backsides. And I also appreciate how him and Sid became close because at first they were not. And I appreciated that a lot too. I love the facts too. They're great comic relief, especially in season 3 more than anything else. And of course, Marcus's Copenhagen episode was just so sweet. And I was so worried the whole time. And I think it's just because you're worried naturally watching this show that something bad was going to happen, but I'm so glad nothing bad happened. And when he saved that person who fell on their bike, and I don't know, there was something really beautiful about that and how he has fallen in love with being a pastry chef. And that's been such a beautiful thing to see. And that's one of my favorite parts of this show is watching all these characters like Marcus, like Tina, find this confidence in this art form that they didn't really realize was an art form before, and finding their voice has been so beautiful to watch. And really, a lot of it is because of Carmi and Sid being there and having a different route. And also Mikey in the flashbacks with Tina and Mikey, when they have that moment, holy crap, that scene is so good. John Barenthal is so fucking good in this show. But that scene,
Oh my God, yes.
that scene and the way he hired her without even knowing her name.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even realize they hadn't exchanged names until she said her name. Was just, oh my gosh, I loved that so much. And I also loved when she went to that interview that they had canceled and the person can't even flip and have the respect enough to look her in the eye. And when she says another thing, fuck you. That was just beautiful. But I just loved that scene because you saw why Tina had been there was because she had connected with Mikey. And a lot of people had been there for that. So then when you have someone who they connected with pass. And then you have someone else who's a lot different, who is this, chef who's worked in Michelin star restaurants, come into this other kind of environment. I think people were very didn't know what to make of that. And then when they start getting this confidence from Tina, like you said, with the knives, that part when she realizes she can keep that knife because she's felt so bad. And it's like, I didn't ask for it back. So you don't have to, And he says it in this casual way because he does not realize that impact at all. But that impact was so profound to her. It meant so much to her. I'm going too long. Like I said, we could have a whole separate episode. So I'm going to try and wrap up. I do want to finish by talking about Sid and Carmi here because, Sid, number one, I really love this character. I really love that she stands up to Carmi, and Carmi actually really respects her, even though sometimes he does not vocalize that enough to my liking. But the scene when they're trying to when Carmi's fixing the table, when they're getting ready to open, and then Sid is there and he's like, can you help me with this? And their whole conversation there, I think that's probably one of the best moments between the two of them because it's so calm and there's so much respect there. And I really love that. And then I also love in the opening of season 3, the season 3 premiere, when you're basically just following Carmi's little moments. And there's the moment where, and I don't even think they've ever really discussed this completely entirely. They kind of have hinted at it. I mean, as far as telling each other this, or Sid telling him, but when he's preparing that and then the meal goes to the table and it's Sid eating that meal before they've even met, I just think that's kind of I think that's so cool. I don't know. It's this cool little foreshadowing. And Carmi, I want to say I love this character. I really love him. I feel for him. I am glad he is going to Al-Anon. I think he deserves to go to therapy, real therapy though. He needs therapy so badly. He is in so much pain. He is in so much pain. He's like an open walking wound. And I know the issues that people have with season 3 are him. They have the issue that they're he's so mean now. He's so mean to everybody. And I think it makes sense though. They're like, oh, what? He gets locked in a walk-in refrigerator. No, he's mean. I'm like, no. That was a culmination of stuff. He was in love and he couldn't really, I don't think he should have a relationship, frankly, with anyone personally until he gets some help. But that wasn't the reason he became a jerk. And yes, he's a jerk, but he's also just super stressed. He's doing this in memory of his brother as well, and also to try and impress people. And I'm not saying I agree with everything he does because I think he's been a shithead to a lot of people, but I still love him. And to me, it makes sense that he would be that way. And I think in the season 3 finale, you see him grappling with that when he's listening to people tell their stories and he has the flashes. In particular, Joel McHale's fucking asshole. This Joel McHale, he's born to play assholes. He plays them so well. He plays them
really
so
does.
well. And that guy is such an asshole. And this is another spoiler, Sarah.
That's okay.
He has a scene where he finally gets to confront him. Carmi does. And it is, oh my gosh, it is it makes you hate Joel McHale even more.
I didn't think that was possible, but okay.
But it is I think it's something that Carmi needed to do. And even though I don't think he gets everything he initially wanted, he does have a little smile at the end of it. And I think he's kind of realizing he is doing a lot of behaviors that are similar to what Joel McHale's character was doing. And he's not taking enough from all the positive role models that he had.
Yeah.
But also just a shout out to Jeremy Allen White's acting in that scene, because he has this one single tear in that scene. And the way he does it, holy crap, it makes me want to cry, because he has beautiful eyes. And I don't mean that in oh, he's hot, because I don't mean that at all. I mean he has amazing blue eyes, and they're very expressive eyes. And there's something about they always seem like he's about to cry, and he's such a quiet character too. And there was something about that tear just coming down that just really, really got to me. So, yeah. But we could, of course, talk about these characters forever. We'll have to do a special episode about that at some point as a bonus episode. So become a Patreon supporter today. And I'm just saying that'll happen eventually. Sooner than later, maybe after the season 4 premiere. So, yep. But we are going to take a break. I should have taken the break earlier, the first one. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about how the show handles mental illness and addiction, because that's a huge part of this show.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-281-7048. 800-281-7048. 800-281-7048. That's 800-281-7048.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase of 16 weeks, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Okay, so I want to just give first some statistics about addiction and substance abuse within the restaurant industry. So substance abuse is expected in the restaurant industry. In a 2018 article titled, "In an Industry Rife with Substance Abuse, Restaurant Workers Help Their Own," by Tove Dunovich, they wrote for NPR, according to a 2015 study by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the food service and hospitality industry has the highest rates of substance use disorders and third highest rates of heavy alcohol use of all employment sectors. So that was not something I knew, but it is something in here, even to the cigarette smoking, which Carmi is quitting in season 3, which is also stressful to watch as a former smoker who's quit more than once. I love when he puts he keeps doing the nicotine gum. And then when Sid takes a piece and puts it in her mouth, and she's like,
"Oh, this is awful."
This is gross. I loved that. But this is also about mental illness. You know, of course, the inciting incident is a suicide. Mikey and Carmen and Shug's mother, Donna, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, is an alcoholic and I think mentally abusive. So how well do you think this show handles mental illness and addiction, Jen?
So, earlier we were talking about, the show, the darkness of the show, but it's not like darkness how, Erin, you and I, we might think show is dark. I think the darkness comes from how real I think this show handles the mental illness and the addiction stuff. I love how they do it. It's raw, real, triggering, intense, ugly, just like how it can be. And I love how it doesn't shy away from any of that. And one of my favorite moments with Carmi is in season 1 when he does go to the Al-Anon meetings and he finally speaks. He finally shares. That is one of the best fucking monologues. And that I don't remember how long that was, like 7 minutes or something. but it's intense, it's heartbreaking, it's beautiful, it's all the fucking things. And I think that's exactly how that kind of situation, those kind of family dynamics can be. And it's oh so complicated. I think they do a very, very good job in handling it. I like how they don't like gloss over anything or over exaggerate anything, like it keeps it real. A lot of shows they'll try, but they'll misstep here and there or get a little tropey or stereotypical. And I don't think this show has done that thus far. And I think everything it does and everything they've shown, even with Mikey in the Fishes episode, Uncle Lee, played by Bob Odenkirk, I love him. And he's just calling him out. He's like, whatever you're on, your eyes are all fucked up, this and that. And it's like, even that, these kind of subtle moments with Mikey maybe tucking back here and over there. And we don't really see what he's doing, but he must be doing something, right? And doing that at Christmas and getting through it. And then the explosion at the table and throwing the fork, which is, I'm with John Mulaney on that one, nervous laugh, like, because that was intense. But I appreciate the truth and honesty and how they are portraying all of that. And I think a lot of other shows could take a note.
Sarah?
No, I completely agree. I think it's been very real in its portrayal of mental illness and addiction, especially how especially its effects on the family members and friends. It's great to see that Carmi is at least going to Al-Anon, but you're right, he definitely needs therapy. He definitely needs therapy. But it is good that he is doing that to deal with his childhood and his mother and the family dynamics and everything. And I think it really shows how, because Donna is emotionally abusive, mentally abusive. It's very obvious. She is an alcoholic. You could tell that the family is just, especially I shouldn't say especially the Fishes episode. I mean, that is, but in the Fishes episode, you could just see how everyone is just walking on eggshells around her. And even their other interactions with her, always just walking on eggshells around her because they don't know how she's going to react. They don't know what's going to trigger her. They don't know which Donna they're going to get. And even Sugar when she goes into labor. And that's the last person she calls. She calls everyone else. She calls Claire. She tries calling Claire before she calls her mother. Her brother's ex-girlfriend. I mean, I know they were all kids together, but still. And you could see how desperate she is. And she didn't want to have to call her mom, but she did anyway. And I think Donna is really trying there and really trying to be supportive. And she has a couple weird moments with the whole, you have your dad's ass.
It's like, oh my God.
She's just like, get off of me. What was that all about? But I could also see other moments with Sugar, after finding out she's pregnant and going through the pregnancy. Like, I could see how worried she is that she may end up having the same type of relationship with her child that she had with her mother, and how she doesn't want that and how worried she is about that. So I think the show does do a great job of showing what it's like to live in that sort of dynamic. And I feel like it's very, very real. But I think they all need to be in therapy. All of them really do. And even with Mikey and his suicide, some of the anger that's there too after the fact. I mean, it's just there's those moments are just so very heartbreaking, and it's because they don't gloss over it. It's not just a little snippet. I mean, the whole Fishes episode, that was over an hour I think that episode was an hour, and it was just nonstop, intense from the beginning. I mean, it was like a punch in the gut. You just got that right off the top, and how everyone is just doing what they can to make sure that Donna is happy. And of course, that doesn't necessarily happen, and she drives a car into the house. And I think it's just a mix of on her end. But, I think that's just a culmination between the mental illness and the alcoholism, and how that, how she's feeling like she's doing all this stuff for her family and no one's appreciating her. And she doesn't feel seen. And she even says that, like, they wouldn't even fucking miss me. I mean, you could see that too, but if you're very triggered by mental illness and substance abuse and how that affects people, don't watch the show, because it deals with it a lot. And it does a very good job of representing what that is like. And it can be very triggering. So I know we have trigger warnings at the beginning, but just a reminder.
No, it is important to say that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think this show does a better job than most shows ever could hope to do. And I always like to say people deserve therapy, because I think it's a reward. I don't, it's not a negative thing, but of course, I've had lots of trauma in therapy, or surrounding therapy. So it's not always like, be very, very picky, just a PSA here, but be very picky about your therapist. You deserve to be picky. If you don't feel comfortable with someone, don't stay with them. It's okay to look around and keep looking for a therapist. They're working for you. So remember that, and you don't hesitate to be picky about it, because there's a lot of bad therapists out there, and there are a lot of good therapists. So you deserve to have a good one if you're going to therapy. Yeah, I think the show does a really good job handling everything. And I loved that speech, Jenn, in season 1 that Carmi gives at Al-Anon. Because it's the first time we really see like his walls broken a little bit. And I was like so proud of him actually to be doing that so early in the series. It makes sense with who he is, but I just was so proud that he did that. Sorry, I have my emotions on, so emoticons on there. So sometimes every once in a while I do a thumbs up and it'll do it back. And I'm like,
happened
okay,
earlier and no one reacted. I was like, okay.
I didn't see it earlier, so I forget they're on sometimes, and I haven't turned them off. So you'll see it every once in a while to give you a thumbs up. I don't know if I'll do it again. And the Fishes episode, of course, is talked about a lot with that because of the performances. I know Jamie Lee Curtis is singled out, and I think she is fantastic. I think John Barenthal is actually the standout in that episode, because it's the first time we've really seen who Mikey is in the whole show. And the scene at the dinner table with the forks is the most intense scene of that whole episode, because you're so stressed and you want him to just stop throwing the forks. But at the same time, that fucking asshole is such a fucking asshole and deserves to have a fork thrown at his fucking head. Even though I didn't want him to do it, I think he kind of deserved it. He's a dick. He's a dick. I'm sorry. That guy's a dick. But you see like the side of him. There's a scene in there when Carmi is giving him that drawing, the framed photo drawing thing. And, it's this, they're just talking. And then when Carmi walks away and Mikey's just like really sad and kind of has a little breakdown, that was just really heartbreaking, because you saw that he was in pain, a lot of pain. And I don't know if everybody really saw how much pain he was in. Not at all blaming other people. I'm just saying I'm not sure everybody saw it. And also that episode gives us that beautiful moment with Richie and his wife and upstairs. I thought that was a really sweet moment. And, with Jamie Lee Curtis, with Donna, with the character of Donna, with the mom, it's interesting in that episode because she keeps saying nobody would miss me and nobody is helping me. Everybody is trying to flip and help her. It's so frustrating because I'm like, everybody's trying to help her. She keeps telling people to go away and not help her, and everybody's trying to help her. And I think a lot of what she says is very manipulative. It's like she's very much manipulating her children, especially Sugar. And that's why I think having that ice chips episode is also so important because Suge gets the brunt of her. You see it at the dining room table when when Donna goes off on her and is so abusive to her at the table. And so having that scene in the ice chips episode when Donna, I was so worried and nervous when Suge said, well, how about my birth? Because she's already gone over Carmi and Mikey's and saying how terrible the births were. And so when she's getting to hers, I'm like, oh, shit. Please don't say anything crappy to Suge because she doesn't deserve it. And her saying how beautiful it was and talking about the dream she had. And then when they play the song and them having this quiet, beautiful moment where for once Donna isn't making it about herself and they're having this bonding moment there where they're actually seeing each other as human beings and Donna saying how beautiful it was and the celebration there. And, the show so often can be very loud and it being a very quiet moment. Just absolutely oh my gosh, I was crying so much during that scene because it was so beautiful to see her finally be a good mom. I also think it's heartbreaking the scene when the restaurant is open and Suge so badly wants her to come and everybody's like, she's not going to come. And why would you want her to come and all this stuff? And I think it's because, the brothers don't understand a relationship between a mom and a daughter is different than a relationship between, I'm just going off of personal experience, but then a daughter and then a mom and the son. It can be a little bit of different dynamic there, I think. And I think that's part of what Carmi and stuff didn't necessarily see. But when she's outside the restaurant, she's talking to Pete and she's just like, I love them so much. I just don't know how to show that I love them. I don't know how to really show that. And that was such a really beautiful moment and so honest, the most honest moment I think she's ever had in the show and heartbreaking at the same time. And I'm really glad actually that she didn't go in there because I think she would have really ruined that whole night, to be quite frank. So I know I'm just talking about the characters here, not necessarily how they're handling it. Sorry. But I do think they do handle it with care and with love, and they don't always play into stereotypes where you don't see people be quote unquote crazy. No one is quote unquote crazy. They have lifelong trauma. You gather also in the Ice Chips episode that Donna's mom was not a very good person. So I think it's just that familial, that generational trauma that also happens. And that's why, once again, Pete deserves so much more love than he gets because he is the perfect person for Suge, because he flippin' respects the hell out of her. He is so sweet. He is so genuine. He is so much more genuine than all of the rest of them in a lot of respects. I think that's why they give him such a hard time, because he wears his emotions his heart on his sleeve. He doesn't hide a lot of it. And I think that's what they don't like about him. But he's so precious and such what she needs in her life. And it broke my heart when she's saying, I think he'll leave me and he won't want to be with me because she doesn't like herself and doesn't see how beautiful she is. And it broke my heart because I'm like, no, he actually sees you better than anybody else sees you. And he really loves her. He genuinely loves that whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, he's kind of like, in some respects, the audience surrogate in a way, because he's like outside of everybody else and he's kind of viewing this whole chaotic family from the outside. But I do like that they don't go into the quote unquote crazy stereotypes. With Mikey, they don't, in the flashbacks, they don't just show him being like uber depressed and, because people who are suicidal or who have suicidal ideation, stuff like that, doesn't always present as lying in bed being uber depressed. They can be very, very happy. And a lot of times when people are to that point where they've made the decision, they can appear happier than they have in a long time. And so I like the fact that they didn't just, every time you see him, you don't see him just being like lying in bed and not being able to get out of bed, or just uber depressed or talking about it or anything like that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so far they haven't really shown him in, dead. They haven't shown him in that process because that too often is handled so poorly. So I appreciate that as well. And if they do ever do it, I hope they handle it in a really great way and not like so many other shows have handled it poorly where it almost romanticizes it in a way. So, yeah. And I also appreciate that. And I know people are upset and sad, but there's not a lot of like, and this has gotten better over the years anyway, but there's not a lot of like blame to Mikey. There's still a lot of love for him. And I appreciate that too, because too often people incorrectly, and I'm not at all like promoting this or anything like that. I have dealt with feeling suicidal on and off my whole life. So I understand being in that place. So, but I'm not saying it's a good place to be in, but too often people like to say people that are suicidal or people who die by suicide are selfish. And that's really not what it's about. So I appreciate that they're not really going that route. But yes, it is very, very, very helpful to know that this show deals a lot with that. And that's a big element of this show. And also the addiction part, which I also think they handle really well, especially Donna's alcoholism. I think that's handled so well, especially when you're looking at that kitchen and there's food splattered everywhere and the chaos of it representing the chaos, I think, in her mind as well. And I think she really does love them. She just doesn't know how to love them, as she said. She doesn't know how to show that. But she did show it in the Ice Chips episode. She really, really showed it. And I'm so glad that Suge was the one that she first really, really showed that to. Just because she so deserved that. So. Okay, well, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to round up with I just want to briefly know what things people want to see in the 4th season.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
So, Jen, what is something you really, really want to see? What are your hopes and dreams for the 4th season?
More food. No.
That's what we all want.
More food
More
tours,
food.
please. Well, it would be nice to see Carmi being nicer to Sydney and being able to vocalize his appreciation for her. Because you're right, he's not, and I do have that noted, and it just didn't come out in all my word vomit of excitement earlier. He needs to be more open and honest about what she brings to the table and what he appreciates about her, because they have that whole moment in like season 3 near the end where they just are exchanging glances and she's just like, okay, and then leaves and he's like, all right, see you tomorrow kind of thing. And it's like he's thinking one thing, she's thinking something else clearly. And it's like, Carmi, maybe you don't get social cues and that's fine, but she's not, she rolled her eyes. She's not happy. You seem content with how this is going. She's not, and she's, please. So I would like to see that. Maybe an apology to Claire as well, because I think not only does Claire need that, but I think Carmi needs that as well. And yeah, season 3 isn't my favorite, but there are some really solid episodes in that season. And I think, yeah, Carmi's where he's at because he's heartbroken and he's angry and all of those things. So I hope he apologizes to Claire, and hopefully that can lead to him finding a better balance in his life. And really, I guess I love all these characters so much. They've all grown and improved amazingly. I can't wait to see what they do next, considering I didn't think Richie was ever going to change and he's had the biggest change. I'm like, I don't know where these characters are going. I'm just along for the ride and the food tours. So I'm hungry.
I know. I'm thinking, what am I going to make for dinner?
Oh, yeah, it is dinner time for Jenn, or almost dinner time for Jenn. I don't know. And it's nearing dinner time here for Sarah and I. So, yeah. So, Sarah, I know you haven't finished season 3, but still, I'm sure you can.
No, I like I said, I have like 30 minutes left of the episode, so it's not too bad. I want to know more about Sid and her backstory, because I think I know they've hinted that she had the catering business and she went to the CIA, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where she was.
Yeah, it was.
But I feel like there's more to her. I feel like there's more to her story. And I don't know why I have that feeling, but I'd like to, when they do these episodes, like the one they did for Tina was amazing. But when they do the episodes where they're, flashing back to how they ended up here, I really want to see one for Sydney. And yes, I would love to see Carmi apologize to Claire, because Claire is a sweetheart. As he said, she is peace. And I think that's true. I think she is peace to him in his world of chaos. So I'd like to see that. And I'd like to see Neil cook a dish. Can we have that, please? He's been begging. Come on. Let him cook something, please.
But only if it turns out horrible. The only
Yes.
reason I say
right.
yes, because I just think it's more ironic. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I don't want him to make this beautiful Michelin star dish. I want him to not be not horrible, not like worst cooks in America horrible, but something decent, but not to the level.
Kraft mac and cheese and hot dogs, but
Right,
fancy.
Kraft mac and cheese. There you go.
That was
It's
correct.
hard to mess up. Although I'm sure someone could mess it up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm like,
I looked it up, so
Jenn.
hi.
Yeah, both Jenn and I do not like to cook, so it's like, no. I like baking.
I love
like
to
baking
bake
a lot.
I love
Yeah.
baking.
Oh, I love it both. I love both.
But I do think that'd be fun to see him cook something, just because, yeah, he hasn't really cooked anything. And especially, I just love the fact that he is a chef in real life. And
Yeah. And he just doesn't cook anything on the show. That's why I want to see him cook.
He always has a screwdriver, even in his
Yep.
fancy suit. He's like, "Do I look like I have a screwdriver?" I'm just kidding. Here it is.
Of course, I have a screwdriver. Okay.
I know, yeah. And I also want to say, we haven't said, I really appreciate the fact that this show is such a stickler in a good way of getting the stuff correct, that when you see them chopping stuff, that's the actors doing that. That's not some stunt person. They had to do a lot of studying. There's a connection to Colorado. There's a Boulder chef that helped Jeremy Allen White, or chef from Boulder, excuse me, that helped Jeremy Allen White with his preparations. Apparently, this person also went to the same high school I went to. I didn't know this until just recently. So I just think that's important to note too, because I think that's a really cool little element to this, that they wanted to make sure it was as authentic as possible. I want to say, because I know Sid has a big, huge decision to make.
Yeah,
I do, because I don't think they would be able to. I don't think it would be the same if she left. So I do want her to stay. But I want her to get more respect from Carmi, because he would be, and he knows it, but he would be nowhere without her. I don't think they should be in a romantic relationship, personally, because a lot of people have suggested that.
No.
Io doesn't think that would be a good idea, and I agree with her. I mean, it would ruin they're like brother and sister. No, it's just, I think that would be really a weird dynamic, and I don't want that to happen. So it's one thing I don't want to happen. I want him to apologize to her. I want him to apologize to Claire. I will say, Claire doesn't do much for me. I think she's actually the most underwritten character in this show. I think she's kind of talked about as being this amazing person that everybody sees. And I just kind of was like, okay, it's because she kind of fits into the manic pixie dream girl trope in some respects for me. So I'm not positive on her yet. So I apologize to everybody out there who likes her. I'm not saying I'm not opposed to her. I just want more development of her, but they're going to have her back again. And I want people to get the therapy they deserve. I would love to see somebody start therapy in season 4. I would just love that. And yeah, I agree, Sarah, we need a whole episode about Sid, like a couple of them, maybe even, because Sid, Richie, and Carmi are arguably the 3, and Suge too, but are arguably the leads of the show. So I think we do need more background of her. And I really want Richie to find love, which I don't know if they're really hinting at this. It could be just me wanting Richie to find love. But the woman, although I don't know, she might be a little bit too young for him, but the woman that worked at Ever, thank you. There's something about their chemistry.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'm like, is that just me? Or
Nope.
Okay,
I was
good.
I was hoping for that as well. And it's like, they haven't done anything yet. And I'm like, okay, that's all right. Let's take it slow. That's fine.
Right,
but let's
yeah.
get there.
Yeah, maybe that'll be his date to the wedding.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just want him to find love. I really want him to find love because he deserves to find love. And I really want a scene between, this will be my last thing, I promise. I really want a scene between Richie and Carmi where they actually sit there and talk. No yelling, no screaming, no curse words, nothing. Just they sit there and talk. I want that really badly. Please give that to me. Yes. Okay. I will stop now. I really love this show, and we will definitely are going to do a bonus when the new season comes out where we will just focus on the characters, and that'll be just for our Patreon supporters. So become a Patreon supporter today for as little as $3 a month, and you get that other great bonus content, early access to episodes, ad-free episodes, all of that jazz. So you can click the link in our show notes or go to our website. It's a fandomthingpod.com and click the support us tab there. But now we are going to turn over to 6 Degrees of Mr. Finn Whitrock. Jenn is part of my Finn crew. So Jenn is, sorry, my second screen disconnected. So then it shot the other screen over here. So you all went away for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell just happened? So Jenn is required to play. So Jenn, you played. I'm assuming you didn't let me down.
Nope.
Of course not. You played this with Nicolas Cage on your show. So how did you connect Finn Whitrock to the bear?
I went with John Bernthal. I have his name written down wrong. I have it written down as Berthnall, but I also wrote Carmi's name as Camry, so take it for what it is. John Bernthal was in Fury with Brad Pitt, who was in The Big Short with Finn Whitrock.
Very good. Yeah, that was a very short one. Very good. So, Sarah, did you play?
I actually did.
Yay!
And I didn't need the Oracle of Bacon.
Yay! Yay!
I was going to go with the really obvious one, but decided not to go there. I'm like, okay, I'll make it a little bit more complicated. So Oliver Platt was in X-Men First Class with Jennifer Lawrence, who was in American Hustle with Christian fucking Bale, who was in The Big Short with Finn Whitrock.
Awesome. You both
Nice.
used, I like that you both used The Big Short, but you did it in different ways. I loved that. And I do think it's funny because you're going to laugh when I do my 6 Degrees because I kind of did this a weird way. Because yes, this is literally 1 degree. You could easily just use Sarah Paulson. And I didn't write down that this was an easy one. And usually I do write that down. So
I couldn't
yeah, it's one of those.
fucking miss that.
Jen is really upset with herself right now.
Well, I actually prefer it when people don't, but I've broken my rule this time. I did not use Sarah Paulson, but I did use Sarah Paulson. So
Okay. Explain.
it'll make sense here when I do it. So I used Evan Moss Bacharach, and he was in Hold Your Breath with Sarah Paulson. So I did this a weird way, I know, but I just thought it was funny. Who was, of course, in a lot of Ryan Murphy stuff. And usually I don't like people to use Ryan Murphy stuff because I'm like, that's the easiest way to connect Finn to anything. But I did it. I mean, we all break it. But I decided to use American Crime Story, Giovanni Versace. Of course, the main thing in that is Darren Criss's amazing performance. But Finn Whitrock is in there as well. He's brutally murdered, spoiler, by Darren Criss's character. It's based on, of course, the true story of the person who killed Giovanni Versace and all that. And it's really good. It's really well done. Those two, that one and the first one about O.J. Simpson, are two things of Ryan Murphy that I don't have as big of an issue with. So,
Right.
Oh, Sarah Paulson wasn't in that one. She was in the other one. But anyway, I messed that all up, but they're all connected anyway. So it all works. Oh my God, Erin. But then I did, because Jenn does this often on her podcast for me. So I did a Nicolas Cage one as well. So because if you don't know, Jenn plays 6 Degrees of Nicolas Cage on her show, My Streaming Bubble. So I used Robert Townsend, who plays, of course, Sid's dad. And he was in That's Adequate, whatever that is. It's Adequate, with Bruce Willis, who was in Grindhouse with Nicolas Cage. There you go.
All right.
That's for you, Jenn.
Well, thank you. It's funny. I was making dinner the other night and I was, thinking, I was like, all right, I got to think of my 6 degrees. And I got there in a couple of steps, but I was like, nope, that was Nicolas Cage.
I do that all the time for yours.
So it's like,
all the time. I'm always like, wait, that's Finn Whitrock. Yeah. Well, thank you both for being here. And hopefully you both can join us for our bonus episode that'll be coming up later in the summer. I'll let us have a few episodes at least of The Bear, the new season. I think they actually are dropping all of the episodes of the season.
Too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'll let us watch the whole season 4 and then we can
Awesome.
discuss it. So we're gonna blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
So we're gonna wrap this bitch up.
Fuck yeah, cousin. Let her rip.
Yes, we're going to close out, and I'm going to have my lovely panelists tell everybody where they can be found. And Jenn will tell everybody where the podcast she hosts, My Streaming Bubble, can be found. So, Chef Jenn.
Yes, Jeff.
Jeff.
I forgot to add one last thing about something I want to see in season 4, and that's more aggressive I love yous. I love how this family is toxic as fuck, but they do not short each other on the I love yous. And I think they always truly mean it.
True.
It might be a little manipulative sometime, but I think they always mean it. Anyway.
Very true.
But if you want to hear more of my thoughts on the series, I did cover The Bear with Ryan and Nicole from Soundtrack Your Life. And you can find that episode on a podcast player near you. And you can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And then you can do all of those things with Erin and I's podcast, Twin It to Win It, where we test our twinningness by trying to guess how the other person feels about different horror movies. Also on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And please rate, review, and share from your favorite podcast player. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Chef.
Thanks, Chef.
So, Chef Sara.
You can find me on Facebook, Sara Vaquero Barnick. That's BARNAIK. Or on Instagram, NateCam Mom. That is NATECAMMOM. Yeah, and that's about it. I'm not many places. And honestly, I'm not that exciting. Unless you're really like a Ghost fan or you really like sourdough.
Yes.
Then you'll see a lot of that stuff.
I was going to say, okay, we're talking about a show about food.
Good point.
Sara does a lot of stuff with sourdough and sourdough bread and a lot of baking and a lot of cooking and everything like that. We were encouraging her in the pop culture episode to make TikTok content with that. So that's another reason to follow Sara. You can also find some pics of Sara's sourdough bread if you will go and join our Discord, link in the show notes. And we have it's a food thing channel there too. So sometimes Sara will post pics of her food. So,
yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Chef. See, you are a chef.
Thanks, Chef.
See?
Thanks, Chef. My husband and I do that all the time. Blind, corner. Yeah.
Hopefully no one's getting stabbed in the butt.
No.
Okay.
That hasn't happened yet.
With a knife.
Thank God. Oh, God. I completely forgot about that one.
Oh, man. Fergie has watched all these episodes, pretty much all of them with me. I don't know what she feels about this show, the dog. it's very like loud, but it's not horror or comedy. I mean, Abbott Elementary comedy, I should specify, or true crime. So she probably doesn't care as much about it, but she does like those other things because she does like to watch TV. And you can follow her on TikTok at Schroeder and Fergs. That's SCHROEDERANDFERGS. It's long, but it's worth it. To find all the links to all our past episodes, once again, the link to our Patreon page, the link to our Redbubble, the link to our contact us if you want to be a potential interview guest on the show, all of that stuff, you can head on over to our website. It's a fandomthingpod.com, and you can find everything there. And next week, we are kicking off Pride Month with a look at some of the musts, some of our favorites, maybe some of the underrated LGBTQIA plus songs out there. So anthems and stuff like that. If you have any that you would like us to give a shout out to, please let me know. And hopefully I will get that information before we record the episode. And then following that, I'm just going to give you our whole lineup. Following that, we are going to be talking about Tegan and Sara. And we are going to have first-time guests on the show, the hosts of Talk Like a Teen podcast. They met and became friends because of that band. So I thought, what other perfect people to have on than them? Because I actually am not too familiar with this band. I wanted to cover them because I watched the Hulu documentary about the catfishing thing that happened to them. It's a fascinating story about the fandom, everything like that. I really highly recommend it. And then, of course, we're going to wrap up covering Queer as Folk like we do every Pride Month. We are doing season 2. We're on to covering seasons. So that will be, hopefully, everybody will still be able to make it. Eric from Great Pop Culture Debate. And then hopefully Ken. Ken is so hit and miss because Ken says I curse him because he always has issues. But hopefully Ken will be there. But if not, Ashell and Ken, co-hosts of Liberty Diner Dish, will hopefully be joining as well. And that'll be a 2-parter. So that's how we are handling Pride Month. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, and free Palestine. And maybe I'll put it at the end of this episode, but I meant to say Ryan from Soundtrack Your Life really wanted to be on The Bear, but wasn't able to be on the episode. But he also wanted to be on because he had an amazing pop culture joke about Dave Grohl. Infidelity plus firing band members. Things Dave Grohl did in the 90s that he's doing now.
Ouch.
So,
midlife crisis.
So yes. But maybe I'll just yell cousin a couple times at you, Jen, because Ryan wanted to do that for you. So okay, here's my countdown.